Man, I'm tired. We've been in these woods for hours.
Yeah, me too. Let's take a break. What's that you're drinking?
Oh, it's a new energy drink called Beta. It's by the Dino Climbing Company. It's great for mental clarity, focus, and really good for extended energy without the jittery feeling. Here, try some.
Wow, this is really good. Where can I get some?
Just go to www.thedinocompany.com. They have two great flavors, Bigfoot Berry and Pina Colada. And don't forget to use code Bigfoot10 at checkout for 10% off and free delivery.
Thanks, I will. What was that?
I don't know. Let's go find out. Dino Beta, to fuel every adventure.
Saw something run out in front of my headlights. I saw it running on all fours, so I kind of slammed on my brakes because I thought it was a deer. When I looked back to my right, I saw two eyes like looking back at me. It was like red and white. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Kind of like time kind of froze. And then I was looking at it and it stood up.
You're listening to the Cryptid Creatures Podcast with Todd and Brian. If you've had an encounter and want to be on the show, email us at info@cryptidcreatures.co or visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net.
This is the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. I am Brian, and with me right over there is my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, my friend?
Oh, man, couldn't be better.
This is a good episode we got coming on tonight. We got a closer encounter to us right up there in Michigan again.
Yeah, right up the road.
So this gentleman saw a Dogman, I think. We think that's what it was.
That's what he says.
What it sounds like it's going to be anyway. So Justin's coming on to tell us about his encounter up there.
Yeah, so I can't wait to get him on here and find out for sure what it was.
Well, let's do it then. Here we go.
Right on. Let's get him.
Hey, guys.
Well, hey, Justin. Thanks for coming on and talking to us.
No problem. I kind of didn't know who else to turn to because when everything kind of happened, I was like, I went home, I did some research, and I was like, well, shit, that was possibly a Dogman. Then I started looking up Dogman, and you guys were the first ones that popped up, and I was like, kind of need someone to talk to about it, because if I don't, I felt like I was kind of going crazy.
That's why we're here.
Well, we're glad you found us.
So, Justin, you had this encounter in Michigan, correct?
Yeah. Would it be June 3rd? June 4th, about like 1:30 in the morning.
Wow, so recent.
Or like 2 weeks later on the same, on Wednesday to Thursday night. Because I work midnights right off of Ann Arbor Road.
And is that where this encounter took place?
Yeah, actually, probably about a quarter mile down the road. I was dropped my coworker off at home, and I was coming back my normal way, and got past my work, and then down on the left, there's a concrete place on the left, and on both sides of the road, there's kind of like a 3 to 4 foot drainage ditch, and I was coming through and saw something run out in front of my headlights, and it was like just outside the headlights, and I saw it running on all fours, so I kind of slammed on my brakes because I thought it was a deer, because deer are very normal in the area. Sorry. So when I slammed on my brakes, I kind of like looked both ways to make sure nothing else was coming across. And when I looked back to my right, I saw two eyes like looking back at me, kind of like cat eyes. It was like red and white kind of look. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Kind of like time kind of froze. And then I was like looking at it and it stood up. And that's when I was like, yeah, that's not a deer. And then, lo and behold, a deer was coming out of the woods on the left, and it got like halfway across the road, saw whatever was standing there, kind of did like the oh crap, like jumped down on all fours, and then booked it running, and then the thing turned and ran after it. And then they both kind of hopped into the cornfield that was right past the drainage ditch. Just was like, I'm getting out of there. And that's when I was like, on my way home, my brain was just running through it, trying to figure out, what I just saw. And then this when I did my research.
How close were you to this creature when you were seeing it?
I'd say about 15, 20 yards. I couldn't really get like a very good look at it, because in that area, it's kind of like that farm dark where you can't see 5 feet out in front of your face when the sun comes down. Mm-hmm. But it's darker than everything else around it, if that makes sense. So it's like, you had the darkness, and that was like just pitch black.
Can you describe any kind of features of this creature? How tall it was, how wide it was, did it have a tail, all that kind of stuff?
I did see a tail when it was like running across the road. The tail, I would kind of give it more of like a long-haired golden retriever kind of tail. For height wise, I would estimate probably about 7 feet, because the drainage ditch is about 3 to 4 feet. And this thing, when it stood up, I could see pretty much from like its belly button up, like shadow wise. And its fur around its shoulders kind of went over the shoulders, kind of like what remind me of like one of those fur pelts that the Vikings would wear, where it go over the shoulder and back down to the like shoulder blades. That was very thick and fluffy.
Did you notice what color this thing was?
It had to be a dark color, because it was darker than like everything else that was around it. So I would probably like a dark black.
When it chased the deer, when it took off after the deer, did it run off on all fours?
Yeah, when it turned, it kind of like turned both of its shoulders, and then kind of like reached down with both hands, and then kind of just took off, like throwing its, I'd guess in a way, like throwing its back legs out and then catching forward to move forward.
Is that your normal route to and from work?
That is my normal route home from work. The only thing that was a little different was me and my friend, or my coworker, we stayed late a little bit, just talking outside to wind down from the night before I took him home. So usually I go through that area about 12:45, 1 o'clock, but this is like at like 1:30, 1:45. So it was only maybe an hour out of my, difference.
How long have you been traveling those routes? How long have you worked where you're at? How many years?
I just passed my 2-year mark.
And nothing ever before then? Nothing ever made you feel uneasy in that area, or you never saw anything before or felt anything before?
No, not entirely, besides the deer and raccoons that you normally see in the area. Never felt uneasy. I mean, after the encounter, I definitely felt a little uneasy going back through the area for about, I don't know, say for like the last week I've been fine, but like other than that, it was like, yep, I know speed limit's 45. Let's go 55. Let's get through here and get out, because it's on the farm side of town. So usually there's no police that way. So it's just go.
Right.
I wonder if this thing left any footprints. Did you ever think to look at that? Or you probably didn't want to get out of your vehicle, I'm sure.
Not that night. When I came back through the next afternoon, I did actually stop and take a look at the drainage ditch, and I'm 6 feet tall. And when I stood down where this thing was standing, it like came up like about like to here on me. So I'm like, if I'm 6 feet tall, that's about 3 to 4 feet. 3 to 4 feet at that point. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't a deer. Like, that's what kind of solidified it for me. Like, that wasn't a deer. That, I wasn't seeing things.
Did you notice like its head was shaped like a wolf? That's what made you think Dogman?
What made me think the Dogman was just the way that when it ran out in front of my headlights, it wasn't running, like how like a normal thing would, like a normal four-legged creature run. It was running like a dog. And when the eyes were looking at me, I could kind of see kind of like, like a dog's head kind of goes kind of like this. It's not like, perfectly round. It kind of goes up and flattens on top.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I could see in the shadow. So I was like, that would kind of be like a dog head, and then just kind of put the pieces together at that point.
The crazy thing is how close this happened to, you're not far away from Detroit, so to speak, I guess, where this happened. I'm looking on a map here. It's not that far away. You would think you'd be kind of way out in the wilderness there, but these things don't seem to be too shy, apparently.
Obviously not. Dundee, I want to say, is maybe like a half hour, 45 minutes away from Detroit. It's like 25 minutes from Toledo.
Right down the road from Ann Arbor.
Yeah, actually, a couple exits up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people talk about dire wolves these days, or seeing dire wolves, which are just overgrown, massive wolves. But the thing with your encounter is, I don't know that there are any wolves in the lower part of Michigan at all. And second, it'd have to be a dire wolf. And third, it'd have to be able to stand up on its hind legs for a while, a normal stance. And I don't think wolves do that unless they're leaning against a tree. So, it sounds definitely like you saw something Dogman related.
Yeah, and then
Absolutely.
2 weeks later, it was like still staying going into Thursday morning. I had another encounter, but it wasn't with the same one, because this one was definitely a lot smaller.
Okay.
Same road. I was going down, and there was I was driving down, and I saw like the same kind of two red eyes looking up from like the center of the road. So I slowed down because, possums and raccoons are in the area. And there was like this just little black dog with long black hair, like sitting in the road. And so I honked my horn at it. It turned, looked at me, and then ran over to the side of the road. And I'm like, oh, someone's dog got loose. And then when it got over to the edge of the brushes, it stood up on its hind legs and started like pushing its way through the thicket. And I'm like, wow. I did not see it twice.
Yeah, dogs don't do that.
Yeah, no, they don't.
How big was this one? How tall do you think this one was?
This one, it wasn't bigger than the bushes next to it. It was maybe only 4 feet. This one was small. It was right before you'd get on the freeway on Ann Arbor Road. So on the right there's houses, and then right before it's like a small little patch of forest. It's not really big. It's like kind of like an alcove cutout for the farmlands.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, that just kind of solidified the previous encounter for me.
Kind of made you know what you saw.
Yeah, exactly. And that one I did get a better look at because it was actually in my headlights. It had like long black hair, but it was light, but also very heavy, if that makes sense. Like it bounced, but the hair was so heavy that when it stood up, the way that I can describe it, it's kind of like the tassels on like the jackets from the 70s. So like no matter where you're moving, the tassels are always pointing down. That's kind of what its hair was. And when it stood up, it was like white underneath. I don't know if it was hairless, but it was white underneath, but the outside was black and very, very heavy, thick hair. And that one definitely looked not more dog-like, but it definitely, I could get a better feel of that one. That one had kind of like a German Shepherd style head. Hair once again went over the shoulders, but when it stood up, it looked almost completely bare on the underside, like even on the forearms and like the underside of the creature. I've listened to a few other episodes of the Dogman, and they like describe them almost like not raccoon hands, but not human hands, kind of like the in between. That would be the best description. Like the finger.
It wasn't a paw.
Right, it wasn't a paw. The fingers were more human-like, or like raccoon-like, but it had a thumb like a human would. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain without actually looking at it.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
Well, we know what raccoon hand looks like.
Yeah.
So
I'm getting creeped out just thinking about it, actually.
Sorry.
You said this thing was 2 weeks after the first incident. You saw the second one?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks after, because I don't know which one I talked to on Facebook, but when I messaged you guys, that was kind of like at the point where I'm like, I need to talk to somebody about it. So at least someone who doesn't think I'm going crazy. After I talked to you guys on Facebook, I felt a little easier with it, like knowing that I was going to talk to somebody. So I actually told my mom about what happened, and she kind of just listened to me and was like, well, I believe you saw what you saw. She's like, I'm not going to deny it. She's like, if you saw it, I believe you, which is great. And she's like, the only thing I would say is when you go home at night, try recording it from your phone when you have it in your like stand that I use for charging when I'm driving. And so the first night I didn't do that. And that's when I had the encounter, and I'm like, I should have been recording. So I've been doing it ever since, and I really haven't seen anything else since then. And that was, I think, the 16th or the 17th of June.
I should get
When
one
that
of those
one
dash
happened?
cams and just keep it on.
Yeah.
24/7. Yeah.
But, when you're driving in that area, just flip the dash cam on. That way you don't have to worry about messing with your phone and wrapping yourself around a tree or something.
Right. Or if you could sneak somewhere and put a game camera up somewhere on the
trail
tree
cam,
around
yeah.
that area.
I even wanted to, like, the first night it happened, I'm like, do I call the police? Like, who do I call? Like, should I warn somebody? So I was like, that's not natural. But I'm like, but if I call the police, they'll probably think I'm crazy and just like push me off as a prank call, you know?
Well, we know on that side of the state, on your side of the state, just a little farther north, has been more Dogman sightings. So we know.
Has there?
Yeah, so we believe you.
Is there like a BFRO for Dogman?
I don't
question.
think
I
so.
don't know.
Not yet, but maybe we should start that.
Yeah.
That second encounter, I had one of my coworkers out of nowhere. He's like, hey, man, did you hear there was a Bigfoot sighting in Saline? And I was like, what? So I checked the BRFO and there was nothing on there. And then he brought in the news article that was from the his newspaper that morning. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then
not everybody reports to the BFRO. So.
Right.
Gotcha. I thought maybe they were like looking out for that stuff. And so like I kind of talked to him for a second. I'm like, well, do you believe in like Bigfoot and stuff like that? He's like, I'm kind of agnostic to it. He's like, I don't believe it, or I believe it, but I don't believe it until I see it. Kind of like one of those things. And so then I told him my encounter, and then now he's like out there trying to find as much as he can about the one in Saline so he can go out and look for it.
Saline, I'll have to look that one up.
Probably 15 minutes down the road from Dundee.
Yeah, I know where it's at.
Yeah, Michigan's got all kinds of stuff going on. Bigfoot sightings, Dogman sightings are very popular in Michigan more than anywhere, I believe. And that's kind of where it all started. Where these things came from, I have no idea. Did they migrate down from Canada? Who knows how they got here or what the hell they are? You're obviously terrified, I guess, when you saw this thing. I'm probably guessing.
I wouldn't say terrified. It was more like that scared but blank feeling, if that makes sense. Like your brain doesn't know how to react to it because it's never seen anything like that before. So after the first encounter, I went through like 2 weeks. I don't want to say like existential dread, but it was more like my brain logically could not wrap around it. So it was kind of like my brain was constantly like, what was that? What is it? I have to figure it out, and it's hard to explain. It's almost like when you're stuck on a really hard puzzle and you're trying to figure it out, then your brain just kind of gives up and then keeps coming back to it randomly, and you're like, just stop.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how woodsy Michigan is. When you say Dogman or Bigfoot, they don't automatically think of Michigan as that place, but
yeah, a lot of people, when they think of Michigan, they just think of Detroit and
right, exactly
that. And then, you go, an hour out of Detroit and it's all farmland. You go, 10 minutes past that and you're in downtown, like a downtown city. It's kind of like an abrupt stop.
Yeah, it's very, the cities are spread out a pretty good distance. And in between there is farmland and woods and just wilderness, so it's not surprising to us that Bigfoot and Dogman and whatever else is still living up there.
Yeah. And Justin, for your sanctity, if you saw what you saw, then that's what you saw. I don't think you were probably driving all hammered and whatnot and in a stupor if you're leaving work, maybe you're heading that way, but you hadn't gotten there yet. And this world is not what people are taught and brought up to believe really what it is. We've been cultured into a certain way of life here in America, and this is how life is. And these things don't exist. These don't exist, but they do. People are seeing them and reporting them, and they're not lying. And you're not either. I believe you. And, there's a lot of weird stuff going on up there in Michigan. Did you believe in Dogman or Bigfoot before any of this happened?
So growing up, I liked watching like Destination Truth, Monster Quest, stuff like that. So like, I liked learning about it, but I never really thought it would be real, if that makes sense. Like, I was kind of like, I just liked learning about them. So like, I never gave it any second thought if it was going to be real or not. And then after my encounter, definitely know it's real, and after listening to a few of your episodes, how you guys say, not everybody can be lying. If one of them is telling the truth, then it validates everything.
Right.
And that kind of was like, I agree with that logic. So, and after that, it's like, yeah, they're real. I don't know, if everybody would believe it, because you're still going to get those people who think that, I'm not going to believe it until I have a body. But when are we going to get the body if no one's actually actively looking for them in a way? Because I know a lot of people go out for Sasquatch and stuff, but I don't think many people are going there. I'm gonna go find myself a Dogman today.
There's actually a lot of organizations in Michigan that hunt for Dogman. I don't say to kill it. They do like the Bigfoot organizations that go out and explore. There's a lot of Dogman groups we've kind of ran into doing this. That they go out and they hunt for those creatures.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll have to look into those.
Mm-hmm.
But we've said many times on the show, we've said that most people don't want to know, if there's something else out there besides us.
Right. I think if the public was to actually, if this came out publicly and everybody would find out, I think it would probably cause mass pandemonium, because no one would, if everybody's on that feeling I was trying to describe earlier, where it's like your brain can't logically think around it, you're going to get mob mentality, and then it's just going to be, well, let's just burn down all the forest then, and they have nowhere to hide, and then just, craters from there.
Do you think what you saw was a natural flesh and blood creature? Was there any paranormal side to it, do you think, at all, or?
I would say it's a natural, flesh and blood creature. I didn't feel anything supernatural with it. But I think for people who haven't witnessed it or haven't been around it, I think they would kind of feel it's more on the paranormal side, because it doesn't meet the standards of nature. Right. It's kind of illogical to think that, a dog can walk on 2 feet and be that large.
I know you said you were kind of frustrated. Just know that we believe you, and we know you saw something.
Absolutely.
People are seeing these things. And when it comes to people out there who don't believe, there's a lot of people that believe things in this world they've never seen. And for them to judge people who've claim to seen something and talk about it sincerely, and we hear the same things over and over and over. The descriptions are the same, the same kind of look. It's like these people would have had to got together and made this thing up to talk together to know, exactly how to describe this thing. And when you're talking thousands and thousands of people, there's no way. There's no way. Mm-hmm. These things are out there. I don't know how they got there. You were lucky or unlucky enough to see 2 of them. I think I'd like to be in a car if I do see one.
Yeah, so I can get away. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd hit it. Hit a damn thing.
Yeah, dude, you get definitely. When I was doing my research, I actually found like a subreddit for Dogman, and I was like reading through some other people's encounters. And the one that kind of like stood out to me was one happened up in northern Michigan, where the lady, it actually like attacked her car and like almost ripped the door off her car. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely glad I got out how I did, just kind of just coasted on by and left.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talking about seeing a juvenile one, so to speak, that kind of makes me think about things. I always wondered if these things were made by the government or dropped here by aliens, or how they got on here, or are they just a normal flesh and blood? It sounds like they're recreating and growing and having little ones running around too.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process too. When I saw the second one, I'm like, that one definitely was smaller than the other one. So I was like, maybe that was a juvenile or a young one. But it was the second one. It was actually in the middle of the road eating roadkill.
Oh, okay.
That's in the middle of the road. So I don't know if it hunted that roadkill, or if someone hit it with their car. Because at that part of night, you're lucky to see like 10 cars go by.
Have you ever heard of the Beast of Bray Road?
I've heard about it, but I haven't done any like research or like look into the encounters there.
Yeah, basically, a lady was driving on a dark road in Wisconsin, Bray Road, in Wisconsin, late at night, and did the same kind of thing. Came up on a creature hunched in the middle of the road eating a roadkill, and it looked at her and then stood up, and she saw a Dogman, and it took off.
Wow, that is eerily scary. It's very similar.
Yep. Yeah. I've seen another story where a guy was talking about he worked for the road highway, whatever, and his duty was to go pick up dead animals, and he went late at night to pick up a deer carcass, and he put it in the back of his truck. And as he was getting in his truck, he heard some commotion, and the truck was shaking, and he looked back in his rearview mirror, and there was a Dogman stealing his deer carcass out of the back of his truck. I mean, I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. I just can't believe there's something like that out there running around, but there is,
Right.
Werewolves are real. You think as a kid, you see the werewolf movies and you're like, oh, that's imaginary, but I know it's really not real, but they seem to be real.
Yeah.
More and more every year.
Makes me kind of wonder if, Hollywood's kind of in on it then, going, yeah, we know it's real. Here's the stories. And then, we all kind of get desensitized to it,
Right.
Just thinking, please.
All legends or stories are based on some kind of reality, so. Right.
Yeah, I believe that too. I believe that they are. I don't think these things were just pulled out of imagination because we're seeing them nowadays,
Right. And it's not even just us. You can go back to like Native Americans, and, you have the tribes all across North America, Mexico, and stuff like that, where they all have similar stories. And back then it's not like we had mail or, telephones. So you're talking to the tribe in Canada, was communicating with the tribe in Mexico, and they all have similar stories, like, especially with like the Sasquatches and Bigfoots. They all have very similar stories, yet they never communicated with each other.
Yep.
I mean, it could just be a thing of, population. When we discovered America, whoever discovered America, and we came over here and we slowly populated, maybe it's taken this long, a few hundred years to populate enough to start getting into these creatures' territories a little bit, or they're coming into our territories a little bit. And that's what the timing thing's all about. Maybe say, well, I didn't hear about this 20 years ago. Well, maybe you didn't, but maybe now it's just getting to the point where both populations are growing and they're kind of, running into each other, so to speak. You still take that route then?
Yeah, I take the same route every night because that's the only way to hop on the freeway there to go up. I just drive with my bright sun, just a little faster.
I would get one of those dash cams and just keep it in your car. Keep it on.
Is it light out when you go to work, Justin?
When I go to work, yeah.
Would you do us a favor and take a little picture stop and take a picture of that area where you saw that thing, and we can put it on our page when we release this episode, so our listeners can see where at this occurred. Not giving the location out exactly, but just a picture of the area you saw it in. That'd be cool if you don't mind.
Definitely, I'll take a picture when I go back Tuesday. We got 4th of July, so
sure.
No, so do we.
If you're okay slowing down at that area, if you're not, I totally understand. I don't blame you there one bit. But
do you want it during the day or do you want it at night?
Well,
during the day,
do it
so
during the day.
Be safe.
Yeah. They're probably not running around, I would think, during the day anyway. So that way you don't have to deal with it coming home.
Probably not. And I think the reason why they come out at night is like I was describing with the second one, how the fur is. It's so dark that it blended in with the nighttime darkness. It wasn't until my headlights actually hit it that I could actually see it. So, you got those stories where you hear the people say like, well, it went past the light and I couldn't see it anymore. Like it was just gone. I think maybe their hair just kind of naturally mixes with the darkness and they just kind of blend in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, we appreciate you talking to us today about the encounter you had. It sounds pretty scary to me, and it's cool that you saw 2 of them.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you guys for giving me the time to come talk to you guys because, like I said, I didn't know kind of who else to turn to that would openly talk about it, not just either think I'm crazy or just think, no, you're stupid. Like, you didn't see anything.
No, we believe you.
Yeah, not at all. We really do believe you. Your disparity, when you first contacted us, I could tell that you were confused.
You were legit. Yeah.
What the hell did I see? Oh my God, that's not in my brain area to exist. So we get it. Yep. Hopefully we can help you feel a little bit better about it, talking to you today, and just know that they're out there. And the world isn't what people think it is, It really isn't.
Right.
So trust your instincts. You know what you saw. And it is what it is, unfortunately. And
be safe on your drive home from work.
Yeah.
Thank you. I told the day after it happened, I was telling my coworker who I drive home, and he's like, "Man, that's crazy." And that's all he left it at. And I'm like, "All right, cool. Thanks, thanks for the encouragement,
Yeah, right. Well, that's how a lot of people are gonna respond to that because they don't know what to say,
A lot of people think we're crazy for doing this and believing in Bigfoot and all these creatures. But when finally Bigfoot is known to mankind, I hope that happens someday. I'm going to look at everybody and just laugh.
Told you.
Told you. People have closed minds and don't want to accept that the world is not what they think it is. So
I actually really appreciate what you guys are doing because just me talking to you guys about it makes me feel better about it. So it's almost like a form of therapy. So you guys are helping a lot of people by doing this.
That's why we're doing it.
Thanks, man. We appreciate that. Yeah, and if anytime you want to get a hold of us and you're feeling weird about it and want to reassure yourself, get a hold of us. We'll talk. We'll chat with you.
Yeah, heck yeah, we'll talk with you.
Yeah, we don't just do these on the phone or record these necessarily for this. We speak to people on the phone. We talk to them just to help them out or see what's going on. Not everybody wants to come on and do the show, that we talk to, but we feel like we try to help them out a little bit and understand what's going on, hopefully, with them. So
thank you.
All right, man. Well, you have a good day and take care. And if you see anything or want to get a hold of us, reach out to us.
You too. I will definitely get that picture.
Awesome.
Picture that and show you guys how deep that drainage ditch is.
Sounds good,
I want to see that.
Can't wait to see it. All right, bud. You take care
Justin.
then.
Thanks.
Not one, but 2 Dogmen within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like a month ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, not that long ago. Yeah, that is crazy. And right up the road, we definitely got to get up there and check it out.
We're getting a lot of these Dogman encounters popping up more and more. So
yes, we
I wonder
are.
what that's all about.
Well, they did just run that Large Hadron Collider the other day.
The what?
The Large Hadron Collider. It's a particle accelerator, the world's largest particle accelerator.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, that's it, then. Duh. What do you think's going to happen? Dogmen everywhere.
Damn right. Yep. They're opening portals.
There you go. That explains it all. We figured it out.
Craziness.
We can stop now.
Yeah,
We figured
but
it
we
out.
definitely got to get up there. And,
For
and
sure.
take a look around up there.
For sure.
I joke about the particle accelerator.
No, I
but
know.
You never know.
Hey, you don't know. You really don't know anything, do you? I mean,
That's right.
who
No.
knows?
Mm-mm.
All these weird things popping up. But anyway,
We could be living in a simulation. We don't know.
nonetheless, a good encounter talking to Justin and what he saw.
Yeah,
there.
that was fun.
Especially with the juvenile one. That's interesting too.
Yeah, that was interesting.
When he said it started parting the bushes with his hands, it kind of really got me.
Yeah, dogs don't do that.
No, they don't do that. All right, man. We'll get out of here then.
Right on.
Until next time.
See ya.